Would you like a piece of pie? What is up, my interwebby type people? Welcome to the segment that I am calling Topless Tuesday. We're on Tuesdays. I pop the top off of some kind of consumer good and we talk about it, and I tell you what I like and what I don't like and what I wish they would have done differently. The cell phone market is getting crazy. With Samsung releasing new devices, Apple releasing new devices in the next few weeks, and Motorola making huge moves when it comes to not only how they run their company, but the products they're bringing out. Things are really heating up, and it's got me thinking about doing something that, I hadn't thought about since college. I might be trying new devices, guys. With phones like the Moto G 3rd Gen coming out, it has me not only curious, but oddly excited for that budget market cell phone. Specifically the ones that are under $200. Now sure, you can get any phone pretty much for under $200 if you sign up for a 2-year agreement, but when you don't got an upgrade and that's all you gotta spend, what should you get? Now, Apple has been known for, the quirky specs since their conception, making that simplistic operating system with the whole less is more mentality and just harmoniously balancing it with the other parts and the components in the device. Now, if you can't tell, I am an Apple fan. And although their specs don't mean as much for the sake of, proving a point, I'm gonna break down the stats on my iPhone 6 and then compare it to these sub $200 beasts that are out in the market today. Now this is my iPhone 6. It has a 4.7-inch screen, an A8 chip, which is the octa-core CPU clocking around 1.4 gigahertz. It's got 1 gig of RAM, 16 gigabyte storage, mainly because I utilize things like cloud storage, so that really wasn't a factor in buying it. We got the 1334 by 750 resolution screen with 326 ppi, which is your pixels per inch. That's a big deal, guys. It's got the 8 megapixel camera in the back and the 1.2 megapixel camera in the front. Now, being as it is an Apple device, those numbers are probably the least meaningful when it comes to it. It definitely shows better than an 8 megapixel camera. But as far as just being on paper, being the stats, that's what we got. We're also running a battery capacity of about 1800 milliamp hours. And finally, an unlocked price of $649. Now, before I bust open what I think is the best phone for the value, let's talk about the runners-up. The Moto G 3rd generation looks incredibly sexy, especially in that curved bamboo, capable of getting any panda hot to trot. With a 5-inch screen, which is bigger than the iPhone, but only a quad-core processor at 1.4 gigahertz, although it is running the Snapdragon chipset, which is pretty damn awesome. The under $200 model gets you 8 gigabytes of storage and 1 gigabyte of RAM, which doesn't go far in the cell phone market, but it is customizable with an SD slot. We got 1080p resolution at a 294 ppi, which is solid, but it is visibly weaker than the iPhone 6. But it does have a 13 megapixel camera and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, which smokes my iPhone 6. And a 2400 milliamp hour battery, which also smokes my iPhone 6, and a $179 price tag, which again smokes the iPhone 6. Now, is it as good spec-wise overall as the iPhone 6? No. But is it 3.5 times worse based on the value? Hell no. Next up on the runners-up list, we have the Blue Life 1. Blue is this awesome cell phone company out of the crazy state of Florida, gradually gaining traction in the budget market. It kind of reminds me of, like Kia back in the day, where they had to start really small and crappy in order to gain the capital to really start making good consumer-grade products. And that's basically what we have here with the Blue Life 1. It is their first attempt at a solid, well-done, well-crafted product. With a 5-inch screen, again larger than the iPhone, and a 294 ppi screen covered in Gorilla Glass, it's matching the Moto G's new solid specs. Now, it does only have a 1.2 gigahertz quad-core processor, so it is going to be slower. It also has, that 1 gigabyte of RAM and 8 gigabytes of storage with the SD slot for further customization. And again, following the trend of the Moto G, it also has a 13 megapixel camera and a 5 megapixel front camera. The only difference in the cameras that I found is that Blue is running a Sony IMX sensor, which is basically the dumbed down version of the GoPro, so you could potentially see a much better stability from the Blue than you would from the Moto. As well as a 2400 milliamp hour battery, again matching the Moto and beating the iPhone. Now, the Moto G 3rd generation and the Blue Life 1 basically run the same exact statistics, other than the processor in the Blue is worse. But at $149, it's $30 cheaper than the Moto G and $500 cheaper than my iPhone. Now, after running through those two, finally it takes us to what I believe is the best budget smartphone that you can get for the money. Now, what we have here is the Posh Titan HD, which is made from those crazy guys over in Jersey who are kind of following in Blue's footsteps and making budget smartphones that actually kick major ass. Now, let's just crack this bad boy open so I can show you what it's got. Okay, so opening up the case, you got kind of a black plastic, clear plastic lid looking thing. Your device is right on the very top. It is covered in a screen protector, which shows, you know, Titan Pro HD. It's got a 5.5 inch HD IPS LCD screen. We've got an octa-core speed clocking at 1.4 gigahertz. We've got 8 gigabytes of storage, 1 gigabyte of RAM. Seems very similar to the Moto G and the Blue. We've got a 13 megapixel main camera with a 5 megapixel front camera, again matching the Moto and the Blue. It's got dual SIM slots, which a lot of people are doing, but not everyone yet, and that's awesome. That means this is truly like a world phone. Pull that off. This is what your screen looks like. It's solid. We got a 5.5 inch screen, nearly an inch bigger than my iPhone, exact same size as the iPhone 6 Plus, basically. It comes with a plastic backing over the faux leather back of the Posh. It's a very luxurious, is how I would say it, very luxurious looking phone. It's very thin, very light, but it doesn't feel like you're gonna snap it in half by any means. Underneath the plastic they give us a silicone case, which is pretty awesome. We also have a screen protector and the instructions. I like little things like this, when they give you little extra bits. Can never go wrong with little extra bits. So we got our instructions, which I will never read, no matter what people tell me to do. In here we have what looks like a micro USB charging cord, and it is. It's got a nice little Posh sticker. Seems pretty well crafted, not too shabby. We also have what look like wannabe iPhone earphones. Let's crack these open. These are cheap. These are definitely cheap, but you know, it came with them. Can't knock them for that. And then on the very bottom, as well as our plugin, our US plugin, we have the Posh battery, which is flat and large, much like the phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop that in there, and let's talk about this thing. Now there is a corner indent where you grab to pull the back off, and this is easily the cheapest part of the phone. The back plate is very cheap, very light, but came off relatively easily. Let's put the battery in. Battery goes this way. But here we have the Posh Mobile startup screen. I don't know if you can see that with the lights on. Now, if the stats on the front weren't enough and you're wondering about the screen quality and maybe some other issues that I might have ran into with this thing, it does only have a 245 ppi screen resolution, which is worse than all the other phones that I've covered. But they did something with the brightness, where they gave it this like abnormally vivid color scheme as well as brightness feature, and it actually tricks you into thinking the resolution is better. So this thing in all actuality does look better than the 245 ppi. And I'll get a couple good shots with the GoPro so you can actually see that firsthand. Now it is a 1.4 gigahertz octa-core processor, so it's rivaling that Moto G, and it's actually beating the Blue Life 1. And it's got what seems to be the 2015 industry standard of a 13 megapixel back camera and a 5 megapixel front camera. Now once again, like I said before, you've got, you know, 8 gigabytes of storage, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and then you have that 2400 milliamp hour battery, which again, all of these specs seem like industry standard. So basically, if I were to break down the top 3 under $200 devices that I was talking about, the Posh loses in screen quality, but actually ties or beats everyone else when it comes to basic statistics. But the real kicker here, and the part that absolutely blew my damn mind, is the price. You know, if I just rattled off some stats to you, like a 5.5 inch quality display, a 13 megapixel camera, an 8-core processor, you'd probably tell me that device is worth about $500. Now I got this thing in the blue back on Amazon for $119. Under $120 for a fully functional, fully awesome, basic native stripper model Android device that functions properly with awesome statistics, awesome specs, and you know, it looks good. it looks good for under $120 and you really can't beat it. And I'm really digging that, you know, it's these local boys like Posh in Jersey and like Blue in Florida that are really making big moves when it comes in the budget market. This thing is genuinely awesome if, say, you need a backup device, or, you know, one of your children needs a device, or, you know, something happened where you don't have any more upgrades and a phone breaks and you just need something short term. This is like, you can't beat this for the price. You really, really, really can't. Anyways, guys, that is it for this one. Let me know down in the comments if, you know, you think I missed a phone that fits in this criteria. Maybe when you get done with that, hit that subscribe button, because I am doing this more frequently. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your week, and I shall see you soon. Deuces, kitties.